This is the video for Writing Process 1, Purpose and Audience Analysis. In this video, you will be introduced to the first stages of the writing process. In another video, we'll cover the remaining stages of the writing process. So in this video, we will discuss how to determine the purpose of your document, the rhetorical situation, the importance of knowing your audience, and the most suitable level of technicality for your document. Understanding these stages of the writing process will help you to create an effective document in an efficient manner. Now, the research and writing processes are linked together, especially at the beginning stages. As you can see from this flow chart here, the first stage, defining the research problem, is composed of things like narrowing your topic, using a mind map, creating a problem or a thesis statement. And as you'll see from the next few slides, these steps are also part of the writing process. Now, the second and third stages of this sort of more detailed research and writing process include things like collecting your sources and evaluating your sources. So much more focused on the research process. While the final stage, presenting the results, is the end of both the research and the writing processes. So what we're going to be focusing on in the following slides are those early stages of the writing process that I showed up at the beginning, the defining the research problem. So there's four basic stages to the writing process. There's the pre-writing stage, which is part of the planning stages, drafting your document, revising your document, and then editing and proofreading the document. Now, these are four very basic stages, but they can be refined even further. So here's a more detailed graphic of the writing process. In the planning stages, there's four elements. You're going to determine the purpose of your document and analyze your readers or audience, which these first two stages are the same as in the four-stage process. Once you've determined why you are writing and who you are writing for, then you can begin to collect your research and to create an outline. The point at which you first create an outline will depend on how much you already know about your topic. If the topic is something that you know well, you can create an outline after doing a very small amount of research. Now note the directions of the arrows down at the bottom of this chart where you're going back and forth between collecting the research and writing your initial drafts. It is a back and forth process, okay? So that's why the arrows show that. Between the research and the outlining stage. So you'll do some research, you'll create an outline, you'll assess what else you need to know, you'll do more research, you'll adjust your outline, and so on, until you feel you have enough research to write your first draft. Once you've created a first draft, you compare it to your outline. Ask yourself, have you met the purpose of your document? Have you included the correct amount of information and the right types of information and the right level of detail? Does the draft match your outline? Do you need more research? Do you need to adjust your outline? Because that's okay too. Your outline's not carved in stone. Can you add to your draft or rearrange things? Once you're satisfied with your most recent draft, go over it again, adjusting for any content problems, and look at your organization too. This is the first step in the revision stage. Once you're satisfied with the content, revise your draft with an eye for style. Does your style of writing suit your purpose and your audience? Think, for example, of the style you would use to present information to high school students compared to the academic style you would use for an essay at university, or the style for a newspaper article. As you become a stronger writer, you may blend some of these steps, but it's important to think of them separately. The final two steps of the revision stage are editing for grammar and editing for mechanics. So mechanics refers to things like sentence and paragraph structure. So let's look for a moment at how to determine the purpose for your document. This refers to the idea of the rhetorical situation. The rhetorical situation is basically the situation for which you're writing or creating the document. This is where you think about why you are creating the document, how it will be used, and who will use it. Once you've determined the situation for which the document is needed, then you can determine how to put the document together. Being specific about your rhetorical situation allows you to be more mindful of all aspects of the document. Take, for example, the following situation: writing an assignment for school. The genre of your piece of writing is an academic research essay, as opposed to, for example, a creative fiction story. Your audience is your professor, and possibly your classmates. Your stance or point of view in your style of writing is professional, objective, and formal. Almost all academic essays are formal. The media you use for an academic essay, well, it will be either paper, so you print it out on paper, or perhaps you're submitting an electronic document. That's going to depend on the requirements of your professor. Finally, the design of a formal academic essay will follow APA formatting. So this includes things like the title, citations, references, double spacing, and so on. Now, so the outer rings of this circle that I'm showing you on the graphic here are the rhetorical elements that you use in determining how to put together your document. So you start with your rhetorical situation, in this case that assignment for a writing course at school. Then you look at your genre, an academic research essay in this case. You look at your audience, your instructor or your classmates. Your stance, professional, objective, formal. Your media, is it an electronic document or a paper document? Then you look at the design, your formal essay. You don't use a lot of headings, you don't use a lot of images, everything's double spaced, you use 12-point font, you have a clear and descriptive title, and so on. It's all the formatting. So you start with your situation, and then you determine the elements. The elements help you to think through how to put together your assignment or your document, if it's not an assignment. So, a little bit of quiz here. If you were to be asked on a quiz the following questions, what would you answer? So, what do rhetorical elements include? Rhetorical elements include what? Audience, genre, and invitations. B, media, genre, and audience. C, purpose, stance, and design. D, both B and C. Or E, none of the above. Which one do you think it is? The correct answer is D. The key word in the question is elements. A is incorrect because invitations are not a rhetorical element, although it could be part of a rhetorical situation. Both B and C list some of the rhetorical elements that must be considered in determining how to plan and create your document. Let's try another one. A rhetorical situation could include the stance of a document. True or false? A rhetorical situation could include the stance of a document. Here, the correct answer is false. Stance is a rhetorical element, but is not a situation. Remember that a situation would be something like writing an essay for a class, or writing an article for a newspaper, or writing a speech for a political debate. The situations are very different. Therefore, so are the decisions regarding the rhetorical elements, which includes the stance.